Hey y'all, Rick Guy here, and welcome back to another Timepieces for Tomorrow video. I want to remind everyone you can find my Timepieces for Tomorrow merch like t-shirts, sweatshirts, stickers, pint glasses, and more. Look down below. And by the way, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon, and that'll notify you whenever I post another video. And that also includes live shows. I'm doing a lot of Timepieces for Tomorrow live shows. So within this video, in this series of videos here on Timepieces for Tomorrow, I want to talk about wristwatch regrets. And that's any regret that I have while dealing with wristwatches. So this on my wrist is a PAM, a Panerai PAM 112. This is arguably one of the best Panerai references. It's a true luminor with real water resistance of 300 meters or 1,000 feet. It's got an exhibition case back. It's manual wind. You know, nothing that you don't need. It's just a very timeless PAM. And obviously, you know, you can swap the straps out with screws. It's super nice. Check out my videos where you can see this Panerai up close. But when I got this Panerai, when I purchased this Panerai in Phillipsburg in St. Martin, I was selling through St. Martin in the, actually that was in the Dutch West Indies. And in Phillipsburg, there were so many Panerai dealers. They had everything. I mean, they had Panerai, they had Omega, they had Vacheron Constantin, they had Rolex, the list goes on. But at that point in time, I was looking for a Panerai, in particular, the PAM 112. So when I found this, I knew that I had to get it because these are, and I don't want to use the term limited production because limited production is often kind of turned into a marketing thing. But in the case of this, the PAM 112, it is somewhat limited production, and it's, in my opinion, the last of the real Panerais. Panerai now is taking kind of a different direction. They're going more fashion watch. This is a true tool watch, manual wind. You know, nothing non-tool about it. But to the regret piece now. So I'm going to flash it up. This right here is an Omega SpeedMaster Mark II. So to look at this in photos, there's a few things I want to point out. First of all, the orange on the dial looks incredible in person. These photos do not do it justice. And by the way, these photos are on chrono24.com. If you're searching for pre-owned wristwatches, I encourage you to check out chrono24.com. They've got a great selection like this wristwatch here. So it's just a really good place to buy and research. Here's another photo. That's the same photo. What really impressed me the most about this SpeedMaster Mark II chrono when I put it on my wrist at the Omega AD in Phillipsburg, St. Martin, is how nice this bracelet felt and how nice it looked. Photos don't do this timepiece justice. The dial has a very dimensional look, and that was something that intrigued me. And that's one of the things I like about my PAM 112 is that it has the sandwich dial, so it's got a dimensional look to it. This SpeedMaster Mark II has a very cool look to it. And looking at it, they also had just the standard black one. This one with the orange, it doesn't look tacky. It just looks really cool and unique. In this photo right here, you can really see the dimensional elements, the ring around. And that's, by the way, that's got lume in it. And I didn't realize that when I was looking at it in the bright sun in St. Phillipsburg, St. Martin, because the authorized dealers, you were pretty much standing outside. I mean, you were in a small authorized dealer. In this case, it was Omega Boutique, and you know, you're out in the sun, so I didn't really realize that I needed to look at the lume. But this is a column wheel chronograph, which is a very nice chronograph. Curiously enough, unlike the Rolex Daytona or the recently released Tudor Black Bay Chrono, this does not have screw-down pushers. So, you know, even though this looks like a sports watch, definitely something you wouldn't want to get wet. But so you can see the bracelet here, just a very high quality bracelet. One of the best bracelets that I've ever handled. I came very close to purchasing this timepiece, and the only reason I didn't was at the time, and I think this was around 2016, it was when you could walk into a Rolex authorized dealer and they had plenty of stock. You could walk into an Omega authorized dealer and they had an abundance of stock, and Omega was easy to come by. At that point in time, Panerai, especially the Panerai reference that I purchased, the PAM 112, it was rare. So having the opportunity to purchase that at an authorized dealer at a discount, I couldn't pass it up. But looking back, this is one of my wristwatch regrets, was not purchasing this. Although, did I make the correct decision at the time? Yes. Yeah, the Panerai PAM 112 was the correct decision. Would I be able to source a Panerai PAM 112 on today's market easily for an affordable price? Nope. But the same could be said about this Omega reference. It's also a discontinued reference. And also wanted to point out the other wristwatch that I was looking at the time was the Rolex Milgauss Z Blue. And I was torn between it, the Panerai, and the Omega SpeedMaster Mark II with the orange hands. This also has an orange hand. So just something, I wanted something that was unique with a little bit of color. Again, this, at the time, the Rolex Milgauss was kind of regarded as one of the dogs of the Rolex range. So subconsciously, that was something that was steering me away from the Milgauss. Also, the fact that it has a shiny stainless steel bezel. Obviously, I'm rough with my wrist. I mean, I take care of them, but I wear them everywhere, so it was going to become a scratch magnet. Yes, the Panerai PAM 112 that I got also has a stainless steel bezel, and it's scratched up. But I just felt that the Rolex scratch wouldn't look as good as the Panerai scratch, because the Panerai PAM 112 has more of a tool type, dive watch type look to it. But this was one of my, or actually two of my wristwatch regrets, because again, the PAM 112, I still love it. I love the way that I can change I've got multiple straps that I wear with this, and just using a screwdriver to change the strap is super simple. It's also got a unique look, and this in my opinion is one of the last of the real Panerais. So I'm stoked, and by the way, you should never wind these on your wrist, because the crown could be at an angle and it could damage it, but the way I've got it positioned, it's pretty much straight out, so I feel all right about that. But yeah, just as you go through this wristwatch journey, you're going to have regrets. But when and if you encounter those regrets, I mean, like right now, I mean, on the secondary market, this Omega SpeedMaster is through the roof, but it pales in comparison to how far above retail the Rolex Milgauss, and any reference Rolex for that matter, is nowadays. So if I was a wristwatch investor or a wristwatch flipper, which I'm not, I'm a collector, I purchase to wear and enjoy it. From that standpoint, I made the correct decision, because on the secondary market, as time goes by, these Panerai PAM 112s are going to be even harder to come by. There's a greater supply of the Rolex Milgauss, and there's a greater supply of the Omega SpeedMaster Mark II with the orange hands. So if I wanted to source those in the future from a reputable gray market, or I don't want to say gray market, a reputable pre-owned wristwatch site such as chrono24.com, that would be something that would be easier to do than sourcing a PAM 112. And I honestly think that the Panerai PAM 112, it's 44 millimeters, so it's significantly larger than both the Rolex Milgauss Z Blue and also the Omega SpeedMaster Mark II with orange hands. I think the Mark II was at 42 millimeters, and the Milgauss I think is a 40 millimeter. So this at 44 millimeters wears significantly larger. But you got to keep in mind with the PAM, that's the thing that's kind of made PAM famous, is just they've got, it's a larger watch. It's got this their little trademarked crown protector, which is very unique. I mean, this is a tool watch. This is something I wear in the pool. I wear to the beach. I put it on a rubber strap, and I just go about my business in the water. And, you know, when I'm not wearing it in the water, I may use, like this right here is a sailcloth strap. I've got some leather straps, but it's just a very unique looking piece. And that was the other thing that steered me towards the PAM, the Panerai PAM, by the way. Panerai, for their references, they use PAM and then a number. So this is a PAM 00112, or some people just call it a PAM 112. But the brand is Panerai. So from a uniqueness perspective, this is a much rarer reference than those other two. It's also a, especially today, it's a less common wristwatch brand. Omega and Rolex are very common. You see them on a lot of people's wrists. Whereas with this, you know, Panerai is less common in the real world. So if you want something that's a little bit unique, you know, the Panerai is the way to go. And I still feel like today, and again, not being a flipper, not being a wristwatch investor, but today someone that would be presented with the opportunity to buy at retail, again, retail price, the Rolex Milgauss Z Blue, the Omega SpeedMaster Mark II with orange hands, or the Panerai PAM 112. If all of these were available at retail today, at normal retail prices, I would still feel that this would have to be the one out of those three that I would have to go for, just because it is unique and it's you know, it's easy to, when you collect wristwatches, to think, you know, you got to get a lot that looks similar or a lot of the same brand. There's some people that only collect Rolex, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like variety. I like you know, I like high quality wristwatches that are going to last, and high quality wristwatches that if I ever needed to trade or sell, that they would be desirable. But you know, this is a unique piece. Granted, the current reference PAMs, Panerai is on a, they've gone on a tangent. I mean, they're releasing luminors that don't even have proper water resistance. You know, they're almost, it's like they're pursuing the fashion watch type trend, and that's scary. So, you know, I think for that reason, you know, on the secondary market, that's going to help core reference Panerais like this PAM 112, because it, again, and I'll say it again, it's the last, this is one of the last of the true Panerais. So, you know, a great choice. I feel like I made the best decision. But again, wristwatch regrets. You know, that's this series that I've got here on Timepieces for Tomorrow. Wristwatch regrets. You know, I regret not getting the SpeedMaster. I regret not getting the Rolex Milgauss Z Blue. But, you know, ultimately, I could only get one at the time. And the one that I chose was the Panerai. And I think, again, today, I still feel like I made the best decision. But I do regret missing out on the opportunity to get a Rolex Milgauss Z Blue or the Omega SpeedMaster Mark II with orange hands. The Omega SpeedMaster Mark II with orange hands has been discontinued. I don't know if the Z Blue's been discontinued yet or not. But nevertheless, I miss, oh, and this is discontinued. But I miss the opportunity to pick those up at retail and even at a discount at the time if I had purchased them. It's disappointing. You'll always have regrets, but just make sure that a regret that you have is not the timepiece that you purchased, because there's nothing worse than being sold a wristwatch or selling yourself on a wristwatch. You know, when you go on these wristwatch journeys and just wristwatch meccas like, you know, Phillipsburg, St. Martin, or Charlotte Amalie, St. Thomas, or wherever you go, where there's just tons of authorized dealers. When you go to those places, you need to have an understanding. I mean, because ultimately, you know, wristwatch collecting, as we all know, you're watching this video, you're probably subscribed. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. But you're watching this video, you've probably got the wristwatch bug as well. You're obsessed with them. So, you know, with that obsession comes variety. But, you know, my best advice, and we'll dive into more depth within other videos, my best advice is to have it narrowed down in your mind when you go on this quest. You know, I want to get this, or that. You know, because there's nothing worse than going wristwatch shopping and finding something new. You don't want to find something new. In most scenarios, that is a bad thing. But, you know, any of these three that I had pegged in my mind when I was ultimately, I wanted the Panerai, because there was a large Panerai presence at the time in Phillipsburg. But I also thought about these, and actually the Omega wasn't even on my radar. It's when I passed by the Omega boutique and I saw it in person, because in photos I don't like it, but in the flesh it was incredible. And actually I tried it on again when I went a few nautical miles over to St. Bart's in the French West Indies. I was at an authorized dealer in Gustavia in St. Bart's in the French West Indies and tried on. They also had the orange hand Omega SpeedMaster Mark II. So, but don't let regrets get to you. Just make sure that what you chose was still a sensible choice, and I made a great choice. PAM 112. Had I picked another Panerai reference, maybe not a good choice, but the PAM 112 was a winner, as Archibald Chesterfield III might say. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. And that's this, the PAM 112. So tell me what you think within the comment section below. Again, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Check out all my timepieces for tomorrow merchandise. You can find it linked below. I got t-shirts, sweatshirts, pint glasses, coffee mugs, stickers, and more. So appreciate your viewership, and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Captain Irix Guy here. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/Irix Guy. And ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.